Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Let me quickly welcome you to the afternoon session of the ongoing training program for the Agri Loan Scheme. What we're having this afternoon is a practical session on completion of the loan application form. We normally take a paper a day, but we set aside Thursdays to run 2 papers. One of these papers is quite an important one. It's a practical session where we go through with you how to complete the admin loan forms. I'm sure all of you have maybe seen a copy of, received a copy of these forms, which you expected to complete and return to us. The first of these forms is more of a questionnaire, which we use in generating data for the preparation of the business plan documents. Then the second one, of course, is the Agnes loan questionnaire. Agnes loan form itself, which we use also in the preparation of the business plan, but which you also need importantly, because you'll be requiring it when you go for the interview. You'll still be given the same copy of that same form to complete, given the same copy of the forms to complete when you go for the interview. It's an essential part of that document, of the interview process. And then finally, we have another form which we just introduced last week. So your batch is the second batch we are presenting that forms to. It is also part of the forms which you normally be given to complete when you go for the interview. So when you go for the interview, there are 2 main forms you'll be asked to complete, and that's what the interview all entails really. The Agnes loan application form itself, and then the second form is an assessment, interview and assessment form for NISA Microfinance Bank, where they will ask you basically similar questions to what you have on the loans application form. So what we'll do this afternoon is to go through these forms together so that I'll try to explain to you the expectations, because they are very, very important. I mean, typically, anytime you go to a bank applying for a loan, or any institution whatsoever, when you want to apply for admission or anything, one of the things they do for you is to give you an application form, and you'll be expected to complete the application form. Okay, so the same also applies to this loan scheme. You will be given an application form to complete, and there will be various fields which you will need to complete. And of these various fields, there are questions that will be asked, and it's important that you give the correct response as much as possible. So our responsibility in the course of this training is to guide you on how to complete these forms. That's essentially why we have this practical session. Ordinarily, some other places, they just give you the 5 days training without this complement, but we try to make sure that we equip our applicants with, our clients with this information, so that when they go completing the forms, they are not befolded as to what is expected of them. So that's what we're going to do this afternoon. So the topic, as I said, is the practical session on completion of the loan application form. We'll look at each of these 3 forms one after the other, right? Right, so the very first thing we need to do is the learning objectives. What are the learning objectives for this particular topic? First is to highlight the importance of the Agnes loan application form. I just did indicate that wherever anything that you want to apply for, whether in the bank or in schools or whatever, there always is tendency for you to be given an application form. So the Agnes loan application form is also a prerequisite for you to complete before you are able to access the loan. So we try to highlight the importance of that loan application form. To understand the importance of each section of the form, each section of this form is quite important and critical. So we want you to understand how important each of these sections is. They explain the expected response for each section. Expected response. For each section, there is a field which you are expected to complete. So we want to explain some of those expected responses for them. Then the submission process. There's a process to which you have to go in submitting these forms. Okay, it's not something like you just complete and then just send to the bank. You are supposed to submit it through a process. So look at that process of submitting the form. So the loan documentation process. That's what I'm saying, that the whole essence of this training is how to access the national microfinance against loan facility. That's the whole essence of this training. Okay, the entrepreneurship training, all of it is to the intent of how you are able to access the loan facility. For you to do that, there is a process flow for accessing the loan. Okay, this includes one, to get trained, which is what we are doing now. Okay, when we started, most of those of you that call us to find out about this loan scheme, they've always asked the question, okay, what are the things that we need to do? I would say there are two mandatory things which the bank expects you to do. One is training, getting trained. Two is development of business plan. So you'll be expected to develop a business plan. So that is the process flow. Get trained, which is what we're doing now. Apply for the loan through your EDI. CDRON is your EDI, so you have to apply for the loan through CDRON. Then you are expected to complete the loan application form and submit your EDI, which we now forward send to National Microfinance Bank. So by the time you are done with the training, you complete the loan application form. You'll be expected to submit it to your EDI. It's the EDI's responsibility to forward it to National Microfinance Bank for them to process and then invite you for interview. So that is what the expectation is. All right. The fourth in the process flow is creating a profile on the National Loan Portal, and the address is given as nmfb.com.ng/SME. Okay? This basically is for those who are doing the business plan on their own. If we're not doing the business plan for you, you will be expected to go to the National Loan Portal and then create your own profile. Okay? But those who are paying for consultancy, it will be our responsibility to develop the business plan for you and upload it on the National Loan Portal. So that is the expectation under the condition that we have. So if you're on your own, that is basically what you do. If we are creating if we are developing the business plan for you, it will be our responsibility as well to do that. Sorry, just a minute. really sorry for the break. I had a little hitch here. So we'll continue. Yeah, we're on the fourth process flow, which is the creation of a profile. And I was explaining that if you are doing the business plan on your own, then you'll be expected to go to the NASA portal yourself to create your profile and then develop your business plan and upload it. But where you are paying us to do the business plan for you, it will be our responsibility to do all of that. We will handle the creation of your profile and then the development of your business plan and then the uploading on the portal. So that's where the difference really is. Okay. All right, so now we want to look at the various forms which we normally give to you guys for presentation, which we normally send to you for completion and then forward to us for preparation of the business plan. The first of these three forms is the AGMI's mini business plan questionnaire. This particular form, we developed it ourselves for the purposes of generating the data required for us to develop the business plan. Okay, this one is specific to us. The other one, of course, is developed by NASA itself. We'll be looking at that. But let's start with the one that we developed for the purposes of generating the required data. We called it the AGMI's mini business plan questionnaire. So we'll go through it together now so that we have a look at what it entails. Yeah, so that's the form on the screen now. I'm sure you have all seen it. And those who have not seen it yet, I'm sure you come across it at one point or the other if we are going to do the business plan for you. But of course, like I say, if we are not, then of course we will not be sending you this form. You have the responsibility of going on the portal and then completing the various fields because there's a template there which you complete. This one helps us, if we're doing it for this one helps us to complete the template, which eventually we're able to use, manipulate to develop the business plan. So we'll go through the form together carefully so that we'll have a better understanding of it. First, the form is divided into various sections. The first one is the individual info. Then the second is educational qualification. Then the business information, details of business ownership, details of staff, and then the marketing. All of these are the various sections of the form, at least of the very first page. This is the very first page. Let's start with the individual info. This is straightforward. Asks for the name of the applicant, the surname, the other names, gender, the rest of it. Then the home address where you live. Then, of course, the closest landmark. Why the closest landmark is that we recognize the fact that in the country, we have various challenges with respect to street names and street numbering. You know, most cities you go, you hardly have that privilege of those kind of numbering. And so one of the ways that you find people describing their homes is to always give landmarks. So you can always give us a landmark of where your home is. If there is no number, a street name and number, even where there is, still give us a landmark. It helps with easy identification. Then date of birth, state of origin, then phone number, all these are required information. Email address, then the BVN. You give us a BVN. BVN is important here because that stands more or less for the collateral. Because so long as you are doing banking, having a banking relationship in the country, your BVN becomes an important component of that services. So where you obtain the loan, assess the loan, and you default, in the loan payment, as long as you're having a banking relationship in the country, of course, the bank will be able to trace you and be able to recoup its resources. please. All right, sorry for the little hitch again. Yeah, so I was explaining about the importance of the BVN. Most people, when they are asked to provide their BVN, tend to be a little bit skeptical about it, but what you can assure is that nobody is going to be able to access your bank details and bank accounts with your BVN, unless of course they have access to your PIN number and the rest of those things. So, but the BVN, for the purpose of this loan, the BVN is to be able to track any loan defaulters in case they default on the repayment of the loan. Then mode of identification. We have various modes of identification in the country. First, the national ID, the international passport, driver's license, voter's license. All these are modes of identification. So you indicate the mode of identification, and then of course the ID number. For each of these mode of identification, there is an ID number. So all we need is for you to also indicate the ID number. Email address, and then password. You can leave the password out now. When we're developing the business plan, we will be able to generate a new kind of password for that purpose. Educational qualification, which is the second section. Here we're asking for the name of the institution, the qualification acquired, the institution you attended, the qualification acquired, the course you read, then the date certificate was awarded, not necessarily in terms of day, month, and all that. If you're able to just give the year, say year 2000, 2003, 5, or thereabout, that's all that will suffice. Business info. If you have a registered company, if you have a registered company, say yes or no, then the name of the company. Whether you have a registered company or not, we want you to indicate the name of, you can give us your name, it will stand for the company, okay? You can, for example, say Bako's Poultry Farm, or Bako Plantation, or any of those things. That will suffice at that point, okay? That will suffice. Then the address of the company. Give us the address of the company. If you don't have an address, you can give us your home address, and then of course the landmark also. Then state. This one will be the state where the business is located, not just not your state of origin. Now, the nationality, your nationality, type of business. What type of business are we looking at? Okay, the average, and then business sector. Okay, let's look at some of the business types that we have here, so that we'll be able to pick. So when we talk about type of business, these are the various type of business activities that we have. If you look on the screen, you see the various type of business activities that we have. It could be poultry, could be fisheries, could be tailoring, furniture making, could be printing, catering services, hairdressing, bakery, organic cream making, ICT, animal husbandry, carpentry, masonry, curb and electric pole making, block making, welding and fabrication, agric and agro-allied processing. All these are various business activities. And then for sector, we have agriculture, fashion and design, ICT, media publishing, beauty, cosmetics, mining, hospitality, cosmetology, beauty and makeup artistry, cotton industry. Okay, so these are the sectors. So if you are in a business activity like poultry or fishery, those ones come under agriculture naturally. Okay, if you are into tailoring, of course, it falls under fashion and design. Okay, if you are into organic cream making, it comes under cosmetics and then beauty and makeup artistry. Okay, so that's how you differentiate between the business activity and then the sector. So let's go back to our form again. Right, so back at our form. So that takes care of type of business and then the business sector. Then stage of business. At what stage is your business? Is it a startup or existing? Okay, and then year of operation. Startup, existing, or year of operation. Okay? So here, if it's a startup, you indicate startup. Okay, if it's not, if it's existing, you indicate existing, and then year of operation. Years of operation, that's how many years the business, if it's an existing business, how many years it has been in existence. Okay. Sorry, just a minute, please. Just a minute. Right, sorry for all these breaks and hitches. So on stage of business, we talked about startup, we talked about existing, a year of operation, we've explained all that. Then business vision, business mission, and business objective. These are also areas which you need to give some explanation. Business vision, I'm sure you're all familiar with business visions. You've seen organizational brochures where they highlight the vision of an organization. Or if you are writing the profile of your company, you always give the vision of that company and then the mission of the company. Okay? So that's what you're expected to also do when you're writing a business plan. What is the business vision? The business vision, in any business vision that you're writing, normally starts with to be this, to do that, to do that. So a business vision is usually the larger picture of what the business intends to be. Okay, where you intend to be in the next 10, 20 years. Okay, so you're looking at the larger picture of where you want to take the company to be. So when you're writing a business vision, you indicate what your projection is that you want your business the enterprise to be within that time frame in the long run, not the short term. Okay, so for you, for example, if you are going into a poultry business in FCT, for example, in writing the business vision, you could say Bako's poultry farm to be the largest mechanized poultry farm in the FCT. To be the largest mechanized poultry farm in the FCT. That is your vision. Okay, that is within the next 10, 20 years, you want your poultry farm to be the largest poultry farm in the FCT within this time frame, and that is their business vision. What of the mission? Their mission normally is how you accomplish that task, how you accomplish the goal of being the largest poultry farm in the FCT within a given period of time. Okay, so their mission could be to use a mechanized technical mode of production to ensure the accomplishment of the goals of the organization. So you are telling us that these are the steps you take to be the largest poultry farm in the FCT. That is your business vision. And then, of course, the business objective, that is what have you set out to do? What has the organization set out to be? Okay. I'm really sure if you're into poultry farm, of course, the business objective is the production of eggs and birds, okay, chicken. Okay, so that is going to be a mission. The objective of that business. If you set up a poultry farm, it's of course the objective is to produce eggs and then produce chicken for sale or for consumption, okay, by your customers. So that is how you describe your line of business. Whatever your line of business is, that should give you an idea, a template on how to describe the business vision, the business mission, and then the business objective. That's how you go about that. Do you belong to a cooperative society? Yes or no? If you belong, indicate yes. If not, say no. If yes, then name the cooperative society. It's important that you have an idea about that. Okay? Then details of business ownership. Business ownership could be one of two things. Tomorrow we'll be looking at business law, and I'm sure we'll be discussing more about business ownership tomorrow. Here, a business is either sole proprietorship or a registered company. The sole proprietorship is you are the sole owner. You are the all and all of that business. So the shareholding is, since you are the all and all, everything is 100% your own. But if it's a registered company, which means it has other shareholders, so you'll be able to give us the names of the other partners in the business and then their percentage shareholding. So, for example, if you have a registered business by the name of Mashat Nigeria Limited, then of course that means it's a registered Nigerian company. Okay, and then of course Ezekiel Masha will have like 50% shares, and other friends will have 25%, the other 25% or thereabout, or whichever kind of sharing formula you tend to have. So that's what we mean by details of business ownership. Then details of staff. Okay, nobody runs a business all by himself, even if it's a sole proprietorship. You are bound to have people who support you in running that business. So you give us the names of the various people who work with you in that business, and then there are areas of responsibility. Okay, so if you are into poultry farming, for example, you will have the farm manager. After the farm manager, you will have the salesperson. You will have the laborers who clean the fees or collect the eggs and the birds and all of those things. So you'll be able to give us the name and then the specific responsibility of those who are working with you. Right, marketing. The type of product or service. What type of product or service are you marketing or are you producing? And the poultry, of course, you producing eggs and then birds, live birds or processed birds, processed chicken. Cost of production. What's the cost of your production? Okay, if you are discussing the cost of production of one single item, it is supposed to be a composite of all of the materials or all of the things that go into it. Okay, and then the average of it, that's what gives you the cost of production. Okay, if you are into poultry farming, for example, then of course you are talking about the amount you use in buying the day-old chicks and then the feeds and then all of the materials required that goes into it. That's even the water and all of those. All these things are elements of the cost of production. So you give us the cost of production. By the time you aggregate all of that, you'll be able to have an idea of how much you spend to produce even just one egg or one bird. Okay. Then selling price of products. Depending on the cost of production, you will not be able to tell us the cost at which you are able to sell the services or the product. The customer, target customers, who are your target customers? If you're an FCT, of course, you want to sell to everybody within the FCT. So the 8 or 10 million people in the FCT will be a target customers, okay? Because you don't just select one side and say, no, we're not going to go beyond this area. Or if you choose that, okay, you're living in Buhari, so your target customers will just purely be in Buhari, then of course, fine. Okay, if you have all the market there, but if not, you can, of course, send your delivery vans to other parts of the city to help you with marketing your products. Location of customer, where are your customers located? They will, of course, be all over FCT. Okay, so that's how you determine that. Okay. All right. So on the second page, we are now on the second page. We're now on the second page. Here we are expected to do a SWOT analysis. A SWOT analysis. I believe on Tuesday you did the feasibility studies, and business plan. And in the course of discussing the feasibility studies, you must have come across SWOT, because it's an essential component of doing a feasibility study. Okay, and of course, I'm sure my colleague Salmachi must have described to you how you go about doing a SWOT analysis. Okay, SWOT is an acronym that stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Okay, it's a very, very important element in doing an analysis. Okay, you are doing any marketing survey or any market analysis, you always have to do a SWOT analysis. If you want to introduce any product in the market, you want to go into any line of business, you are always advised to do a SWOT analysis. SWOT analysis simply means that what are the strengths of your line of business? What are the strengths of your business? What is your own strength as a manager in running that business? What are the weaknesses of your enterprise? What are the weaknesses of your business? And then, of course, the opportunities that are available within the environment for you to take to promote your business. And then the threats, what are the threats that you are likely to face in the course of running this business? All of these things constitute the SWOT. Okay, in the SWOT analysis, strengths and weaknesses are internal. They are internal to the enterprise, to the organization, to you. Okay, those are your strengths, your inner strengths. Okay, and then your inner weaknesses. While opportunities and threats are external to you. These are external factors that you don't have much control over. Okay, because issues that happen within the environment outside of the enterprise organization. These are things that are their own life entirely different from what you are able to control. But what you are able to do with them is that you are able to take that opportunity that appears. Because in every challenge, they say, in every difficult situation, in every environment that you find yourself, there is always an opportunity. Okay? Within every threat, there is always an opportunity. So how you are able to take advantage of that is how will be the measure of succeed. So let's give some examples of how you do a SWOT analysis. We'll continue with the example we're giving with respect to the poultry farm. You want a poultry business, or you already have a poultry business which you have started gradually, and you want to expand. What are the strengths and what are the weaknesses, opportunities, and threats in running that poultry business? First, your strengths. Remember, we say strengths are internal factors to you. So what are your strengths? First and foremost, one of your strengths could be that you have highly qualified and dedicated staff. Okay? within your farm, within your poultry farm, you have highly and dedicated staff. That is, this is an area of strength for you. You could have excellent marketing and managerial skills. You could have excellent an area of strength for you. Okay, and then of course you could have strong technical know-how of how to run the business. Okay, maybe you studied agri, and then of course you have worked with the poultry farm before, so you already have the technical know-how. Okay, so these are areas of strength. Okay, highly qualified and dedicated staff, excellent marketing and managerial skills, and then of course strong technical know-how of the business. All these are areas of strength. Okay, so with this kind of strength that you have and your staff have, of course, that is a major area of advantage for you. Then what are the weaknesses? The weaknesses could be in the area of poor distribution network. Okay, you might have all of these strengths, but you don't have the market penetration. You don't have good network. Okay, how you be able to reach out to the entire market? Maybe because you don't have delivery van, for example, you don't have the resources to be able to get yourself a delivery van to be able to move your products to the market, your eggs to the market, or your chicken to the market. These are challenges. Insufficient fund for expansion. You want to expand. You don't have the necessary funds, the sufficient funds to expand. That is why you want to take this facility, for example. So that could be a weakness also. Okay, and then of course, maybe because as you are just coming into the market, of course, you have others who are already well established, have made a name for themselves, have made a mark for themselves, have strong brands. But you are just coming in, so your brand is not so popular yet. So that could be also a weakness given the circumstance. Okay? So what you're trying to do now is also see how you can be able to build a strong, powerful brand for your own poultry farm. Okay? What are the opportunities? Remember, we say opportunities are external factors, they are external to you. Okay, these are things that you don't have control over. So you could find them in things like favorable government policy for agriculture. We're all aware in the country today, for example, that there is a very, very favorable government policy on agriculture that favors agriculture. Government, for example, has banned the importation of poultry products. That's the eggs and then the processed chicken or live chicken. So with that kind of government policy, which means there's a massive opportunity there for people who want to go into poultry farming because there's a large market available. Okay? We know how Nigerians like chicken, how much chicken they eat during off-season and during festive period. So the market is there and the government policy is quite favorable in that regard. And then of course, there's an already existing market. Homes and restaurants. So that is a massive existing market for that. And then there's an all-year-round demand for chicken. Okay, we know that today, because of health issues, people are being discouraged from eating red meat, buying red meat. The emphasis is on white meat, and white meat is made up of chicken and fish. Okay? So there's already an existing market and all year round demand for that product. Okay, and especially because of the health issues that are involved in some of those kind of issues. So the opportunities are massive in the country for one who wants to pursue a poultry business. Okay? So what are the threats? Of course, there are threats. There are threats within the industry today. Quite a number of threats also. First is stiff competition. Okay, because of the favorable government policy, because of the existing opportunities, because of massive demand for poultry products, so many people have also gone into the poultry business, gone to the poultry farming. So there is, as it were, stiff competition. If you are going into it, you can be sure that you are going into poultry farm with hundreds of other people who are on a daily basis also considering going into that line of business. So the competition is quite steep. So how are you able to differentiate your own products from the others? These are some of the issues that you really have to think about when you want to go into that line of business. Then, of course, there is the problem of theft and insecurity. We know the kind of challenge that we have in this country today. There is a lot of massive theft and massive insecurity. Today, our farmers are not able to go to their farms. Just last week, we saw the sad story coming out of Borno State, where Boko Haram went and slaughtered over 43 farmers, okay, just because they decided to go to their farms to harvest their products. So the same is happening all over the place. You find bandits involved in cattle rustling, not only just cattle rustling, but invading and cutting away birds and eggs from poultry farms. These are all challenges that security threats and challenges that we have in the poultry industry today, in the farming industry today, because of those kind of things. So these are threats that are there. Okay, then of course there are disease prevalence. Okay, the poultry farming is very, very susceptible to diseases. Okay, the day-old chicks are easily exposed to all manners of flus and avian flu, the bird flu, all manners of diseases that afflict them. So they are at the day-old level very, very tender and could be easily lost. So some farmers, poultry farmers, easily lose so much of their day-old chicks, so much of their raw materials at very, very tender age because of the very, very delicate nature of that line of business, because of the disease prevalence in the poultry business. So that is how you do your SWOT analysis. Your strengths, you highlight them, your weaknesses, highlight opportunities, and then of course, based on the weight of all of these things, you will now be able to chart a path for yourself, chart a course for yourself, to be able to adopt a way in which you go about the line of business. So that's basically how you do the SWOT analysis. All right, let's look at the business competition. Here you'll be expected to name a competitor. Okay, even if you don't know anyone, if you're in poultry and you don't know anybody, you can simply say other poultry farmers. Okay, but there's a likelihood that you might know a poultry farmer in your environment because most times you want to go into any business, you must have seen that there's somebody in that line of business who is doing very well. And then, of course, you want to emulate him or you want to go in and compete with him. So you'll be able to give us his name, or if you don't know his name, of course, you can simply indicate that any other poultry farmers. The type of products, of course, type of products will be the same with your own eggs and birds. And then location of competitor, of course, is going to be within your own location. Also, what is your competitor's cost of production? Well, these are things you can find out. Most people really, before they go into any line of business, would have done their market survey, would have done their surveys and investigation of the people who are in the same line of business in their environment, so that they have an idea of how much that competitor is able to produce, the cost of the production of the services, and then how much he's also able to sell his product. So you want to either come in and sell at the same rate with him or undercut him, or because maybe you have superior products, see how you are going to up your own price a little bit beyond what he does. Yeah, well, these are information that you could readily be able to generate and then provide. Okay? Company assets. Existing company assets. If you already have an existing business, of course, you'll be able to have some assets, because you won't have an existing business without having some company assets. Okay, even if you don't have an existing business with assets, if you have your own personal assets, for example, you can always indicate them as part of the company's assets. So where you don't have any existing asset physically for a company, even if you have a car, it's part of the assets that you have, and you'll be able to indicate it. The things that you have maybe in your office that also go into the business activity, you highlight them as part of your existing assets. And you give us the price, the year of purchase, and then their lifespan. Cash at hand, just leave those information out here. Cash at hand, and then customer debts, we'll leave that one out. Monthly expenses. Okay, and then the items they're looking at are rent, administrative costs, salaries, utilities, raw materials, and the like. Here, for any line of business that you do, they are, of course, bound to be, you have to spend expenses on certain items. Okay, here we're looking at the rent. If you are renting a field, for example, or leasing a field, you need to give us a total amount of money you're using in renting the office space or the farm space or the field, the farmland, whether you're leasing or whatever. Okay, and then of course to determine the monthly rate, if you have a total, you divide by 12. Okay, so if you are leasing a piece of land for a poultry farm in the sum of 1 million naira, if you divide by 12, it gives you the idea of what the monthly expenses are. Administrative costs, the same also. Administrative costs normally are things like that you utilize in terms of stationeries, in terms of ink, in terms of the consumables that you use for processing your documents and all of those. All these constitute administrative costs. Okay, salaries, of course, if you are in any business, you are bound to have people who work for you. You know how much you pay them per annum. You divide by 12 by the number of staff, gives you an idea of the amount, their monthly expenses. The same also applies to utilities, which cover the cost of things like water bill, like electricity, and all of those things. So you compute all of that and it gives you an idea of what the monthly expenses are. Okay, this will try to explain that. Then loan requirement. What's a loan requirement? The loan amount. Like we said, for startup, if you are just trying to start a business, the loan amount is the maximum amount you can get for startup is 5 million naira. But if it's an existing business, the highest amount of money you can request for is 10 million naira. Okay. Then the loan tenure is 7 years, we say, within which you are expected to repay. Do you have any existing loan? Yes or no? If you do, you say yes. If not, indicate no. The name of financial institutions. It's always advisable if you have an existing loan to please indicate it. Because if you don't, by the time they check your BVN will be able to link your bank accounts and then tell the story behind your account. So it's important that we know that and then we indicate it. Okay. Loan utilization. Loan utilization. How do you intend to utilize the loan? Given the loan, how much are you going to spend on rent? Okay, how much are you going to spend on administrative costs, on utilities, machinery, raw materials, etc. We'll be looking at the main loan application form subsequently, and we'll be discussing again at this particular session in more details. Okay, and here what we're giving, the figures we're expecting is this time around an annual round figure. So if you're talking in terms of rents, of course, how much you pay on your property, on your shop space per annum. Okay? If it's 1 million naira, it's the entire 1 million you write, it's no longer monthly. So it's the lump sum amount you write. Administrative costs, how much you spend on administrative issues all within a year. That's what you give us. Utilities, how much you spend on water bill, on electricity bill, that's what you indicate. Then machineries and equipment, how much you bought the equipment and machineries you require for office use. Raw materials, same also. So you'll be able to give us the sum total. And then the last section of this one here is referees names and phone numbers. The referees names and phone numbers. So you give us the referees name and phone numbers, 2 of them. Okay, so we have come to the end of this particular form. What we'll do is we'll open the platform now so that if you have any question to ask, you can ask any question that you have before we proceed to the next form. Okay, so let's open the platform, please. All right, we took a break so that we can ask questions. I don't know if you seem to be the only one left in the class now. Do you have any questions on the section we have covered so far? Unmute your mic. Unmute your mic and talk to us if you have any question that you want to ask on that section that we talked about. Do you have any questions? All right, if that's any question, I think we can just continue. All right, so how to complete the loan application form and creation of portal on the loan application, creation of profile on the loan application portal. Yeah, here we're explaining that if you access the loan application portal, you'll find two templates. There are two templates on the portal. First one is owned by the NASA Microfinance Bank itself. But that template is a little bit complex. So most times we advise our clients to use the second one, which is by the Simplified Credit. Simplified Credit is an IT company which is in partnership with NASA. They also have their own template on the portal, and it's much easier to handle. So that is the one that we will be looking at. That's the one we use, and that's the one we also advise our clients who are doing the business plan themselves to also use. Right. That form is divided into 4 sections. Also, you have 4 sections. The personal details section, business details, loan utilization details, and training details. Okay, so we'll look at each of these sections and then we'll discuss them. While completing the forms, of course, you'll be expected to use capital letters for them. So that's the Agris loan application form. I'm sure you're familiar with it. I'm sure you have seen it before. If we haven't sent it for you before, if you're going to do the business plan, you will definitely have a look at it. Yeah, so let's look at it, go through it carefully for better understanding. First, we look at the personal section. The personal section, of course, is like the previous, the Agris loan questionnaire, which we have looked at previously. Basically the same field. The only difference here is when you are looking at the state of origin and then the state of residence here. If you are, let's say, from Kogi State and you're a resident in Anambra State, because the state of origin and state of residence will be different. Or if you're a resident here from Kogi State and you're a resident in Kogi State, then of course it's the same. And you're looking at the age bracket, phone number, email address, name of bank, that's your own current bank that you hold. Give us that number, the name and the number. Then the BVN, we've already talked about the importance of the BVN. So you indicate the BVN for us also. Then okay, we'll now look at the business details. The business details. Here, we're looking at the name of the business enterprise. Remember, in the other form, we also talked about name of business, whether it's a registered company or not. If it's just your name you want to give, or it's important that you indicate the name of a business, whether registered or not. Okay, so even if you don't have a registered company, you can simply indicate that it's Temitope Ventures or something like that. Okay, or Temitope Fund, all of those kind of things. So you give us that name. Okay? That's what will be required there. Company, bank, okay, then business address. If it's an existing business, it's expected that you have an address. Where you don't have an address, you can be able to give us the name of, your home address. That will also suffice under the circumstance. Company bank account number. Here you leave this one open on the time when you are invited by bank for interview, and then you will now be able to explain to they will give you a loan application form to go. If so, the bank open account number to open an account number, then of course after that you'll be given an account number, and then you'll be able to indicate the number at that point in time. Okay? That would be nice and finance partner. Then type of business activity and sector, we have already looked at that element. So you write, you give us the name of the business activity. If it's poultry, if it's fishery, you indicate and then the sector is mutual. Is it a startup? Yes or no? It's a startup. You say yes. If it's not, then no. If it's not a startup, then of course the number of years of operation. You indicate the number of years of operation. Then now the loan utilization. This is a very important component. The most important component of this form, really. Because here you'll be expected to make a proposal. Okay, so it's important that we quite understand this section. It's unique section.
Yes, on which?
Okay. All right. So on the loan utilization section, we have the loan amount, purpose of loan, then the loan tenure. For the loan amount, you wait until when you complete this required equipment and required details of working capital. When you have the total, that's when you'll be able to give the loan amount. And then for the purpose of the loan, if it's a startup, then you indicate purpose of the loan is to start a business, start a business. But if it's an existing business, you indicate is for expansion of business. Loan tenure, of course, is 7 years, okay? Or if you want it earlier, 5 years. If you want it earlier, you can indicate. All right, so for this, the type of equipment required, let's scroll to the front so that we look at that section and then look at the section there so that we're able to discuss that portion better. All right, so here, we'll look at the completion of the loan process here. Okay, here, this section is divided into two. It asks you to provide details of required equipment and then details of working capital. Okay, in the funding model, the bank will finance the assets, that's the equipment, and then give you working capital. Okay, the bank, of course, is smart enough to know that most loan applicants want to hide the bulk of the money in the working capital. Okay, but they know we all want the raw cash. But they all want most of us want the raw cash so that we'll be able to run our business. But to check this trend, the bank came up with what we call the golden rule, that your equipment list should not be less than 70% of your total loan amount. Should not be less than 70%. Okay, while the working capital should be 30% or 30% and below. Okay, so what this means essentially is that for whatever business you want to go into, okay, if you want to go into tailoring, for example, the equipment, the total amount given to you, you're asking for 10 million for equipment for going to tailoring. 70%, which means 7 million, should go into the purchase of things like sewing machines, like cutters, like all of those things, that the different type of machinery you require in the sewing, in the tailoring business. Okay, so 70% will go for that. And then the working capital, of course, will be for things like your salaries, like your rent, and then utilities and stuff like that. That is how it is divided. Okay, so let's take an example here. Let's look at an example of a business in agri sector, and then another one in SME. See how we can complete the loan utilization section. Okay, so let's use the poultry. We'll be using poultry as an example on this one. Let's use poultry as an example here also. Okay, a typical poultry farmer will need the following. A typical poultry farmer will need the following. Okay, one, lease of land. Lease of land, lease the land for 1.2 million. Construction of pens, 1 million. Battery cages for 800,000. Borehole, 600,000. Generator, 400,000. Egg crates, 100,000, and delivery van, 1.5 million. Okay, so all this will constitute equipment, and will go, and 70% of that total amount of 10 million that we want will be dedicated to the equipment. Okay, so if of course you want to process chicken, for example, then of course you need something like a deep freezer in this case. All right, so for the working capital component, these are the elements that you require. Okay, staff salary, broiler, staff salary, for example, at 270,000 naira, a broiler at 500,000 naira, layer 500,000 naira, utilities 100,000 naira, fees 1.530 million. Okay, when you add up everything together, that's when you get now the total loan amount. Okay, so that's how you arrive at that total. So let's go back again to the form and then discuss more about that. So, all right. So, yeah. So now we are looking at the form again, and then of course, like I said, for the required equipment, okay, required equipment for your poultry. So we are looking at lease number one, lease of land, 1.2 million. The amount 1.2 million. Construction of pen, 1 million. Amount 1 million. Battery cage, 800,000. Borehole, 600,000, and the like. And then, of course, the working capital. Working capital also, you look at, you're looking at staff salaries, 270, broiler, and then layer. These are day-old chicks, broiler and layer, 500,000 each. Then utilities, 100,000. Then feeds, which is a very, very important component of a poultry farm, 1.3 million. Okay, so by the time you total that, the two sections, that's when you now get the loan amount. So that's how you arrive at the loan amount. Then the last section, last question in that box is source of repayment. Well, the source of repayment, of course, will come from the proceeds of the business, okay? The profit from the business. So let's go back to the write-up again and then look at some issues here, okay? All right. So for the example of the poultry farm we are giving, therefore, the total loan amount will come to about 8.5 million, okay, with a working capital of 2.9 million. Okay, so that is about 31% of the total amount. Okay, if we use, take the example, the SME example, for example, if we take rice processing as an SME, okay, rice processing is not an it's not the same thing as agricultural business, okay? Farming. Rice processing is an SME, okay? Because this one is processing, not rice farming. Here, the equipment that you require will include the stoning machine, rice polishing machine, etc. Your working capital, on the other hand, will be used to purchase rice paddy rice, which we process rice from, the pay salaries, utilities, and other administrative expenses. In rice processing also, we should remember that 70%, we should adhere to the 70-30% ratio. 70% will go for the machine, and then 30% will go for the working capital, yeah? Right. So we can also use the same example with catering services. Here, the needed equipment include industrial cooker, chiller, deep freezer, food display unit, kitchen utensils, serving place, furniture, etc., which you will need to break down in your business plan. While your working capital could be rent, salaries, foodstuff, etc. So that is how you also do that one. Okay. So you have to be very, very careful. You have to be able to know how to determine what is working capital and what is equipment. Okay. If you don't classify it appropriately, you could find yourself having a request being cut down. The example we like to give is that the difference between furnishing and furniture. there's always a difference between furnishing and furniture. Furnishing, of course, is a working capital, while furniture, of course, is an equipment. So we need to have that know that difference. And another issue we want to draw attention to is in the area of working capital. The working capital the bank will give is not for a whole year, normally for 3 months, okay? It's expected that after 3 months, the business should be able to take over and start taking care of the working expenditure. So if you indicate that your staff salary is 450,000 naira, you should be able to explain that for 3 months, that is what you will need to pay 5 staff at 30,000 naira each. Okay, and thereafter the business should be able to self-sustain. If you are into poultry and for feeds, you indicate 1 million naira for feeds, and the bag of feeds is 10,000 naira. You should be able to explain how many bags of feeds you will require for the 3 months period. So it's important that you have that at the back of your mind. Okay, so let's go back to our form again and complete the other sections. All right, the forms now. All right, so now the last section of the form here, training details. The last section of the form is training details. Here he asks for training institution. The CIDRO Nigeria Limited-EDI is your training institution. Type of training is entrepreneurship training. The training identification on Saturday will be issuing you your certificates. We'll have a graduation and will be issuing your certificates. That's where you will find the training identification number, okay? And then the duration of the training is 5 days. And the last session is declaration. Here you give your name and then declare that the information you're providing is correct to the best of your ability, and then you sign, okay? The other section for certification, that is our own responsibility. All right, so let's go back and complete this now. So that is about that form, okay? All right, so here, okay, completion of that form. Other subjects we need to complete under loan utilization. We have already discussed all of these. Purpose of the loan is startup or expansion. Loan tenure is maximum of 7 years. List of equipment, we have discussed that in more details. Source of repayment is business profit. Then the training details, that's what we just looked at now. That's the last session of the form. The training institution is CIDRO Nigeria Limited-EDI. Training number is your certificate number. It will be issued to you when you graduate on Saturday. Type of training is entrepreneurship training program. And then the duration is 5 days, okay? Then the last section, of course, is after completing the application form, the last section is your declaration, confirming that the information you provided are to the best of your knowledge, and you could be disqualified if any of the information provided is false, okay? All right, so now we'll look at the last form. This one is the NISA Microfinance Bank interview and assessment form for AGMI's loan. Okay, at the pre-loan approval interview, applicants are given another interview and assessment form to complete. We have that template and we'll go through it to guide participants on how to complete the form in the course of the interview. As I did indicate from the beginning of this topic, that we just had, only last week we got access to this form, one of the forms that you will be given when you go for the interview. Okay, so we'll go through it now so as to be able to guide you on what to expect of this form. Okay, there are the two forms, the one that we just finished looking at, the loan application form, and this form. So this is the form. It's not a replica, but it's a reproduction of the form. Okay, on the top there you find the telephone number, your state of origin, and then your LGA. Okay, NBF, NMFB, pre-approval interview and assessment template for AGMI's loan. So this is pre-approval before the approval for the loan is given. Okay, this is the interview form. Okay, interview and assessment template. So this is the template you are supposed to complete, the form you are supposed to complete. It's on the basis of this that you'll be assessed and then approval will be given for the loan. So the inquiries here are name of beneficiaries, response, you give us your name, the age of beneficiary, your age, home address, name of business, business address is different from home address, NMFB account number, that's if you have opened, because like I said, I'm going to give you an account opening form. So if you open an account with them, that's the number that you indicate there. BVN as stated in the application. Remember, you've given them your BVN, so you repeat it here again. Okay, EDI where you train, your EDI where you train the Sidron Nigeria Limited. Duration of the training, you have to tell them, like we said, is 5 days. Business sector, you tell them if it's poultry and fishery, is agri. If it's dressmaking or tailoring, fashion, then of course fashion and design. Okay, business subsector, that's the immediate business you are doing, either poultry, fisheries, or tailoring. That's what is required there. Is your business a startup or existing? We have asked this question consistently. If it's a startup, yes, indicate it's a startup. If it's existing, indicate it's existing. If it's existing, please state. Here is where the catch is. Because if you say it's an existing business, then you have to tell them your total monthly sales. How much are you able to sell on a monthly basis? Okay, if you are into poultry farming, and then you sell their product is eggs. Okay, how many crates of eggs are you able to sell on a monthly basis? Are you able to sell up to 10 crates of eggs? If you're able to sell 10 crates of eggs at 800 naira each, then of course you indicate the amount. 10 crates of eggs at 800 naira each. You give the total. Give the total of that amount of money. So let's look at it quickly. 100 crates at 800 naira each. Okay, so you are able to make on your monthly sale or sale of egg is 80,000 naira. Okay, what of your monthly expenses? How much do you spend on your poultry farm on a monthly basis? Okay, by the time you compute the total amount of money and you say, okay, it's 60,000 you spend monthly, okay, monthly. And then the monthly expenses, of course, include the cost of sales, salaries, rent, utilities, and all of those. These are the things that constitute the expenses, okay? So if you compute it and your monthly expenses is 60,000, and then of course your gross profit. What's your gross profit? Your gross profit is the difference between your amount of sales and then your expenses. If your sales is higher than your expenses, then you are able to make a profit, okay? 80,000 for sales and 60,000 for expenses. That means you have a gross profit of 20,000 naira monthly. But where your expenses, okay, let's say your expenses comes to 100,000, your sales is 80,000. That means you are running a deficit, which means you don't have a profit. If anything, it's a deficit. So it's a deficit amount you indicate, okay? So that's how you complete that section of section 13. Have you conducted market survey to understand it? The market for your type of business? Okay, remember when you did the business, the feasibility studies, when you did the feasibility studies, of course, the facilitator told you about market survey and all of those things. Okay, so definitely, and then of course, during the SWOT analysis, we told you how you do your SWOT analysis. Okay, you have to conduct market survey to see if this business is going to be viable, if it's going to be sustainable. These are the things that you look at. So have you been able to conduct the market survey to understand the market of this type of business? If yes, you indicate yes. Do you have customer or off-takers for your products or produce? If yes, indicate. By this, it means that if you are, for example, you are into farming, let's say you are into rice farming, okay? And then of course, because today what the strategy that rice farmers do, especially under the anchor borrowers, okay, you find the rice milling companies, they bring together a number of people, farmers, and they give them a parcel of land, like 3 hectares, for them to plant, okay? And then they give them the seedlings, they give them the implements, they give them the fertilizers, and all of those things, okay? And by the time they finish the farming and they harvest the product, it's the millers that come and buy these things off them. They are the off-takers, okay? So they don't have to, you don't, as a farmer, as a rice farmer, you don't have to take this product to the market yourself to sell. No, you just finish your farming and then the millers come and buy it off you, making it a whole lot easier. If you're a friend of somebody who was on this program and last 2 weeks or so, told me of his friend who is into onion farming in Kebbi State, okay? And like one period, he said he harvested about 36 bags of onion, and he didn't have to take it to the market. They were off takers. Customers came and bought it off him right from the farm there. He didn't have to start taking it all the way to the market by himself. So that is what they mean by off taker. Okay. Right. Then at 16, are you aware of any possible risk that your business may encounter? If yes, provide details. Okay, in doing the SWOT analysis, remember risk is about threats also. So if you are able, if are you aware of any risk? Okay, if you are into poultry farming, of course, I just highlighted the risks involved in poultry farming. Okay, the stiff competition. Okay, the threats and insecurity, the chances of bandits or kidnappers chasing you off your farm, okay, or cattle rustlers, and then invaders of poultry farms invading your farm and cutting away your birds and your eggs. Okay, all of those things are what they are asking of here. Okay, so are you aware of those risks? And if you are aware of those risks, are you? If yes, how will you mitigate? How will you mitigate this risk? How will we be able to prevent these risks? That's what they are asking in terms of mitigation. Okay, then purpose of the loan. Okay, if remember we say if it's a startup, you indicate that it's for startup. If it's an existing loan, it's for expansion. Requested amount, then you indicate the amount you have requested. How long will you want the loan? You indicate, is it 5 years? Is it a maximum of 7 years? What is the grace period or moratorium? Okay, what's the grace period or moratorium? The grace period for the bank is maybe 1 year, we extend up to 18 months, or like they said here, this is business specific. Yesterday when we were discussing with some of our stakeholders, somebody said he wants to go into palm tree plantation. And then he was asking how long, because the palm trees, they don't mature early. How long will the period of grace will he be given, moratorium will he be given? And I said, well, they said it's business specific. So for somebody who wants to go to a plantation, it might take up to 18 months or maybe up to 2 years before they will now begin to ask you to come and start paying back. Because it's within that period that the palm trees are expected to have mature and start yielding fruits for you to be able to make any of those kind of businesses you want at all. Okay. So lists a cost of required equipment. Okay, the forms that we completed, the loan application form, we already highlighted that one already. So you list them out in the box to your right. And then the list and amount of working capital, we'll also discuss that one. So you list them out. For agri, we have talked about it. Construction of pens, battery cages, borehole, generator, delivery vans, air crates, freezer, all of these are equipment. For working capital, we looked at staff salary, we looked at broilers, layers, we looked at utilities. So all these things are the things that you need to list in those two locations. Okay, if existing, okay. So these are the sections that you need to complete. From 24 to 25 and 26, that is the bank's own responsibility. The bank will conclude, will complete that section and then make its recommendation. So it's after this, they do this assessment. This recommendation is now made from the branch to the headquarters. And then, of course, your loan will be recommended for approval or not. Okay, so that is about the 3 forms. Okay, so we have looked at the 3 forms. And then, of course, we are come to the end of this topic. I know it's been quite a lengthy day. So in case you can see it's only Temitope that is eventually left in the class. If you have any question that you want to ask, please, Temitope, you can unmute your mic and then feel free to ask the question. Okay. If you have any question to ask, please, you can ask the question. All right, can't hear anything from you. I want to assume you don't have any question. I want to thank you for being very patient to stay with us to the very end. The others, I hope they are watching on YouTube. And then I hope you'll be able to find time to go through it at your own time. All right. Having said that, let me thank you once again immensely for being a part of this class. And then we'll convene tomorrow again for the final day of this training. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day ahead of you. Thank you, Temitope Abiodun, for your patience in particular. All right.